So, hello, America. Friends, ladies, gentlemen, enemies, lend me your ears. I'm going to go ahead and solve this immigration crisis, this national crisis that we're having. We got a poverty crisis. 10 to 20% of us is in poverty, and then some of the worst poverty in all the world. And then also, you got a shit ton of homelessness. $5 billion cures America's homelessness. So, you want $5 billion? Donald, you want $5 billion? How come you're not stopping the government to solve the homelessness crisis? That's American kids, American veterans, women, men, people of all stripes, all Americans of all stripes. Yeah, this isn't about hating immigrants. This is about hating Americans. This is about hatred. So the priority is to put a wall, to put a barrier up, but it's not to make sure that our veterans and children and people have shelter. It's only $500,000. So $5 billion would take care of it. $10,000 homes on public lands, $10,000 times $500,000, $5 billion. So 2014, the 3 or 4 major networks refused airtime for Barack Obama's speech on immigration. What was that about? George W. Bush had an immigration speech. Trump had an immigration speech. But Barack Obama wasn't allowed to talk about it. It's probably because of racism. ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. Remember when Fox was a weakling? So it was good that the Democrats are able to jockey to get some response airtime because they could counter the public narrative. So, yeah. I thought it was fucked up that, Obama couldn't, but then and then I found it to be, I like both of their speeches. I found Trump's speech to be interesting. He said 4,000 Americans were killed in the last 2 years, so about 2,000 Americans are being murdered by illegal immigrants, undocumented and authorized human beings. So it's just that illegals and alien is just quick and to the point, and we're a nation of law, so illegals, they literally are illegal people, but that's not exactly their fault. We haven't passed a common sense, comprehensive immigration reform for a long-ass fucking time. So we need to get an immigration bill. This needs to be Congress. This needs to be Trump. And we need to get one immigration bill. And the immigration bill is going to take care of the 11 million illegals here, and we're going to take care of the problem. And then once we take care of that 11 million illegal situation, then we'll worry about the borders. Right now, the borders are being taken care of. The debate really is, if you got, an acre, is it better to walk around your acre all the time guarding it, or build a wall and have a guard dog and video cameras and spotlights and motion detector lights? It's not about whether or not we should have a border. Everybody's in favor of a border. The Democrats were very aggressive on the border. So it's just about how the border should be protected. Should it be protected by drones? Should it be protected by technology? Should we spend a shit ton of fucking money to build a bunch of walls out in the middle of the desert? So a little bit about America. We're made up of 329 million people, because in order to understand the immigrants, you got to understand who we are. So the United States is made up of 329 million Americans, 50 nifty United States, plus 16 or 14 territories. 2 are in dispute, and 900 military bases in 150 countries. So if you're a human being, if you're a person, if you were born on the soil of these 50 nifty United States, or the 5 or the 14, 16 territories, or the 900 military bases in 150 countries, and you're an American, 329 million Americans, about 1 million 1 million to 1.5 million immigrants come into the United States every year. Just to give you a general number. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's, 1.5 is the peak. So that's, the United States is made up of those territories, and then the people would be made up of the people born, who live in those territories, who's born on the soil. If you're not born, you only get birthright citizenship if you're born on the soil. So those who are born on the soil and those who get naturalized. And Congress is supposed to pass laws about how people get naturalized. The United States is number 3 in population. 3 in population. China has 1.4 billion people, so that beats America by about 3 or 4 times the amount. India has 1.3 billion, and the United States 329 million. We're the premier empire. The Soviet Union is out. There's no more balance of power anymore, so the Soviet Union has fallen. The United States stands alone as the world's premier superpower. We are the empire. So only shithole countries don't have universal health care for their people. All the good countries around the world, all the advanced, civilized countries have universal health care for their people because they care about the lives of their people, and health is life, right? So we're the #1 military power. That isn't always a great thing. Richard Milhous Nixon bitched about feeling like a helpless giant to Cuba's communist rebellion in the Western Hemisphere. Personally, when it comes to the immigration debate, what I would love to see, I've thought about a lot of different ideas. I think the quota system's interesting. I think the quota system helps our soft power. USAID is a good soft power. So the quota system, I think, would be a good soft power. Then people might say, well, it might get political, right? You might say some countries are bad, some countries are good. Well, we're doing that anyways. It doesn't matter who's in office. They'll, influence the culture of homeland security and immigration, or, the quota system. So, personally, I would love to adopt as many countries want to become part of the United States. I love that I'm able to drive all over the place. I can drive to Alaska. I can get in a boat and go to Hawaii. I can drive to California. I can go to Maine, Florida, and the East Coast, and maybe Montana. I could go all over the place. I can hit all 50 states. In fact, every American should hit all 50 states. That should be something on your bucket list. How the fuck can you sit there and say, what, your state that you were born in is the best state ever? That seems, I think you're biased. I think you are, that's a home bias. Yes, that's a, so, Puerto Rico voted to become a state. Puerto Rico, 80% of Puerto Ricans want to become a state. Why would we not let Puerto Rico become a state? It's our territory. They're Americans anyways. They're American citizens. And then once they're a state, they get the benefits of American citizenship, but we also get to visit them. We get to tour, their countries. I would love to have friendly relationships with all of South and Central America and Mexico. It's just one continent. I mean, there's only, fucking 30 countries? You're telling me 30 fucking countries can't get along? We only have 2 countries on our border, and you're saying we can't get along with one of them? And then with so much attention on the southern border, why would the terrorists go down there? It seems like the Canada border or the ocean is the best way to get it. I also heard this story. It's about Wall Street. So the Dutch, it sounds true, 1640, the Dutch had built a wall to keep out the English, but the English took the Dutch by sea, and then they destroyed the wall and built a street, and they called it Wall Street. And that's where the name Wall Street comes today. So there's lots of walls. We can compare and contrast a lot of things. I don't give a fuck about the Palestinian-Israeli wall. I don't give a fuck about the Eastern, Western Berlin Wall separating Germany for all them years. I don't give a fuck about the Great Wall. I don't know about the Great Wall. I heard 2 stories. But essentially when you have a wall, and if you're conquered, then that's a new wall for your conquered. But then walls in our house, walls in, society, the fences, the walls in our house keeps us from the elements. The walls in our rooms separate things, organize. There's, this room, bedroom, storage room, kitchen. So walls aren't inherently bad or good, right? A wall is just a wall. In fact, I think everybody should build a wall. You're improving your property. You should build a wall for yourself, around your house, around your county, around your city, around your village, around your state, and around your nation. So we need a wall on all the borders. We need to be very particular. Which side are you on? Which side is, this is my yard, this is your yard? I like precise things like that. So I would love to adopt all South America. I would love to adopt all Central America. I'd love to adopt Mexico. Let's get some referendums down there. Let's see what they think. Let's see what Guatemala thinks. if all the Guatemalans are running up here to become citizens, then they must evidently think America is, the shining city on a hill. So, I mean, we got problems here. So, some people, maybe we're protecting them by putting a wall and stopping them from coming from the horse shit that's up here. So, since Puerto Rico wants to become part of the United States, the Roman Empire would adopt the people that they conquered as citizens. Because why the fuck not? Why the fuck not? I was only in America because I was born on this soil. So if Puerto Rico wants to become, part of this nation, why not? Why the fuck not? They already are anyway. Puerto Rico is already part of the nation. So just because they're not a star on the flag, just because they're not in the hearts of the 50 nifty people. And I would love 100 states over 50. 100 is better than 50, right? Isn't it? And then if, Russia and China and India, they all those people, all the military, North Korea, it would be good to have some allies on this continent. Wouldn't that be a good thing, America? Wouldn't it be good to get along with South America, instead of invading Venezuela? I'd love to visit Chile, Argentina, Brazil. It'd be fun. It'd be fun to drive to Bolivia. It'd be fun. It'd be nice. It'd be awesome. Drive through the Isthmus of Panama, just like the United States. So I like that there's no walls and borders. And, we can drive all across the United States without a visa, without border patrol, without having to go through border patrol in every single state. It would suck. So, yeah. I would love to add 25 to 50 new American states. Give referendums to all the nations south of the border. Canada, too. Hey, Canada, you want to become American? You want to overthrow the British oppression? the Canadians still have the Queen. They're still under the yoke of the Commonwealth of the Empire, of the British imperialist. There's the Queen is still on their money. So, isn't it about time for you to overthrow your British imperialist oppressors, Canada? We've been calling you Canada the whole time. I thought you all were free. Why the fuck do we call you Canada? We just call you fucking, the big fat Great Britain, the Western Hemisphere Great Britain, and the one French nation, Quebec, I think. So that would be my dream of dreams, to, adopt the rest of the world. And it would be interesting to see what those referendums mean. I mean, here, basically I think that America is mixed when it comes to how the world sees us. I think some of us want, the world wants us to take a leadership role. 80% of Africa approved of George W. Bush. 80% of Africa approved of George W. Bush. They're naming their kids after him. So what? What was I going? Here's some statistics. In 2015, the amount of refugees that come into America was 70,000. We also took in 1,700 Syrian refugees. So 2015, we've got Syrian refugees. The Syrian refugees are already here. There's 1,700 Syrian refugees, 2015. Total amount was 70,000. Most of those 70,000 were coming from Burma, which is not surprising considering there's a fucking genocide. It's Myanmar now. Burma, Myanmar, 26%. 1/4 of the 70,000. So that's what? 17,000 Burmese, Myanmarians were refugees running to our nation. So it seems like maybe we should stop the genocide. I thought we're supposed to invade their country over there, so they're not coming over here. What was that? Iraqis, 18% of all Iraqis. All Iraqis have to be able to come and go as they please. What the fuck, America? The best way that we fix Iraq is by making Iraq the greatest goddamn success story we've ever fucking seen in our lifetimes. Don't forget about Iraq. They should be our 51st state. They should be the first state we adopt inside. It'd be fun to go visit Iraq. I wouldn't want to go now. I don't really know what the people of Iraq think of us. But if they're a state, put a referendum up and they voted to become our country, a part of our country, that'd be fun. That'd be nice. It'd be awesome. 13% is from Somalia. The Democratic Republic of Congo is 11%, and Bhutan was 8%. I'm going to get to the solution. Okay, so the solution for me is we're going to deport some, we're going to give amnesty to some, and then for the bulk of the 11 million illegal humans, the human beings, the unauthorized, undocumented, not the aliens, not illegal, no human is illegal, that's true. You're a human, so your existence isn't illegal, but your existence in this country is. And so we need to do something about the 11 million people. We need to have comprehensive and common sense immigration reform. We got 11 million illegal people here. What the fuck? George W. Bush offered a pathway to citizenship. Here's what he said. There's 5 things that George W. Bush wanted. Number 1, pay a price. Number 2, learn English. Number 3, pay taxes. Number 4, pass a background check with reservations. Number 5, hold a job for a number of years. So the reservations, the background check, you're coming from, Latin America, you got corrupt governments out there, there's cartels. Who's the fucking criminal, who's not? The cops could just be beating everybody up and robbing them and finding them and charging them with all these fucking crimes, and they're the, victim. So background checks, in Alabama, for 10 years, the cops are planting drugs on black folks. So background checks, I don't know. I don't trust background checks personally. But those other, pay a price, they're here. They shouldn't have been. Learn English. We all speak English. Pay taxes. They should pay the current taxes. We shouldn't make them pay back taxes. That would be, you'd be crippling them, if they were here like 20 years or something. But yeah, from here on out, you got to pay your taxes, pass a background check. Like I said, my reservations, I think a better way would just to have a conversation with them. Have, in-depth interviews. Get, maybe psychologists or psychiatrists, but really just talk to a farmer. Have a farmer talk to any of the immigrants. If they come in with tattoos all over their face and they got a bad attitude and they're like, nah, man, we're going to cut you up. We're going to do some damage. Don't let those in. Don't let the people. So I feel like I'm a good judge of character, so I feel like just kind of sit down and talk to them and say, how's your life? What have you done? Where have you come from? If they're seeking asylum or, refugee status, just have several in-depth conversations. Have, 10 in-depth conversations. Interview them several times, get to know them, their demeanor, their manners, listen to exactly what they say. I think they would probably reveal a bunch of stuff about their lives. The more the better. And we shouldn't hang them on any little thing here and there. Their conditions could, their place where they live, a lot of things could influence how they had behavior, how they had to behave. But to see if, essentially, given a chance, a decent job, if they can make it in the United States. If they can make it in the United States and they're, good, humble people, if they've been here for a long time. So they either have a decent job or if they could get a decent job, if they could do well here and they seem like nice folks, let's keep them. So for most of the 11 million, that's a crisis. That's something that should be solved. That's something that George W. Bush and Barack Obama tried to solve. Barack Obama passed an executive order, and they threw it out. The Supreme Court threw it out. So he's a wartime president. And so anyways, we should do a George W. Bush plan. Those are the 5 elements of his plan. Like I said, they sound all right. Hold a job, yeah. Maybe the background check, I think, with reservations, just, understand how people are. Doesn't, it could be an assault charge could mean they were defending themselves, or it could mean that they are violent psychopaths, right? If you're defending yourselves, then that means they're a hero and they're a great person, and we need to have more people that are willing to stand up for themselves. So that would make them stellar. So the 2013 Senate bill, it also had a legalized path to citizenship. So for the bulk of the 11 million people, we're going to have to deport some. We're going to have to give amnesty to some. The old people, the criminals, deport them. The old folks, give them amnesty. The kids, especially, if you were born here, 11 million is an estimate because who knows, they're living in the shadows. And when you're living in the shadows, like if you're a pothead in a not pot state, then you have to essentially hide, who you are. And so they would probably be paranoid, and since that ups the stakes, it makes it dangerous. The law makes it dangerous. The hole in the law, the big hole, gaping hole in the law, makes it dangerous for everybody. Because you don't want to get caught, you don't want anybody to say shit, and then that makes you more paranoid, makes you more fascist, you put up walls. And then, Yeah, and then all it takes is there's a father had 6 American kids on American soil, so they're all Americans because of birthright citizenship. But he had been here for 50 years and he got deported. So he's a father of 6, and we deported him. Now we need a legalized path to citizenship for the bulk. Like I said, the 2013 Senate bill, they added new visas for entrepreneurs, a W visa for lower skilled workers. It was Charles Schumer. It was a Senate bill, so a supermajority of the Senate passed it. Charles Schumer, 2013. They also wanted 40,000 more border agents. So if they didn't give a shit about the border, why are they putting more border agents on the border? The Democrats didn't give a shit about the refugees from Haiti, from Honduras. The Democrats were the deporter-in-chief. Barack Obama has deported so many motherfucking, folks. It's Donald Trump isn't even close. Donald Trump isn't even 1/3, 1/4 of Barack Obama. Barack Obama is deporting people left and right. So that's the solution. That's the solution. The solution for the 11 million illegal, undocumented, unauthorized, alien, human beings, people, persons who need to get legalized. And we need to have laws. So it's both the government, and that's our government, so we need to put pressure on our government. It's the people's fault. It's the illegals' fault. It's everybody's, so whatever. Get mad because what? The illegals, we're a nation of laws. They are illegals, but they're illegal because we have a gaping hole in our law that doesn't know what to do with them. Ronald Reagan offered amnesty for $3 million, and that actually did increase it. So that is an incentive. It's saying, hey, if you come in and stay here for a couple of years, eventually you'll get to stay. So once the 11 million people have been handled, then we also got to focus on sealing up the border. We do need to seal up the border. There's customs and officials and, visas, and people can't just fly here, and that's how the 9/11 terrorists got in. The 9/11 terrorists didn't come from Mexico. 9/11 terrorists came in from JFK, from Chicago, New York, from the East Coast airports. I used to think it was Canada. But no, they got in legally. They had like 25 consular official contacts. They had, 50 other contacts from American officials and their officials. Essentially, the 9/11 terrorists came legally. So that wasn't very good vetting, now was it? So just because they come legally, that's not guaranteeing jack shit. And we should also fix our sick culture. Our capitalism is making us dog-eat-dog savages, and we don't give a flying fuck about nobody. So that's what I think the real problem with immigration. We don't take care of ourselves, not as a people, let alone taking care of another nation's kids. So that's the solution. I personally don't like walls. Ron Paul said he don't like walls. I don't know. Like I said, I would love for Mexico to be our 51st state. If Mexico's not our 51st state, you got 25,000 families who's crossing over the border. 25,000 families. And, I don't know what it's like to live on the border. That would seem scary to me if you're on a farm and you just had people always running by. But if they were peaceful, maybe it was just like deer. But who knows, right? It's in the dark and you just see images just always running by. And that couldn't be good. There's been murders. He said 4,000. The number, I think, is close. It could be 2,000, but that's a lot of fucking Americans. That's a lot of bloodshed that that people are allowing. MS-13, that's another thing. I feel like liberals are pussies about this issue because the liberals don't want to be viewed as racist, and so they allow anybody and everybody, open borders, open season, come one, come all, anybody wants to. He's painting us up as if we're a bunch of lawless fucking, crazy people. So, no, not open borders. And, it's kind of a utopia. The 50 nifty United States, we've been able to do it. If they're part of our country, I would be open to it. But since 25,000 families are coming across the border, we need to seal up the border. We need to seal up the border. So, let's get to the heart of it. 25,000 families. What spots? What areas? Do you need a wall on the whole fucking thing? There's a wall in San Diego. The wall in San Diego works. The wall between, I think, Tijuana and San Diego. If I have a farm, every single boundary that I can get to prevent any intruder is the best thing. So I got an acre, or if I'm a suburbanite, and I got my yard, and I got my fence. Having a nice, big, tall fence keeps anybody from easily coming over. Having a guard dog bark at it. Having spotlights, video cameras for evidence. And if they come over, then we better be able to nab them and arrest them, call the police, and say, this is what happened. And be trusted that, you know, that our government will defend us. So that's what we would do for our own personal private properties. We should do the exact same for the nation. The nation state is dependent upon borders. Without borders, we don't have a country. He's right about that. Ron Paul, he doesn't like walls, he says. He don't want to wall people in or wall people out. That is so ideal, man. Ron Paul says that the shutdown isn't very significant in the grand scheme of things. Charles Schumer declares that Trump will never get the wall. You will never get your wall. So I believe him. I want to believe him. So for the Democrats, Charles Schumer, obstruct. I'm not opposed to a wall per se. I think Bernie Sanders, if he says we needed a wall, I'd be like, all right, start build. Why do we wait? Bernie said we needed a wall? Well, shit. I need to get my hammer and nails. I need to go help. So Tulsi or, AOC, if any of them said we needed a wall, then I would totally be in favor of it. But because Donald is taking this as a priority over everything else, it's his signature policy. The Republicans fucked with the Democrats for 8 fucking years. Politically, the Democrats can't lose on this. The shutdown and all the damage that happens from the shutdown, the more it gets crazy, the more it gets chaotic. The second law of thermodynamics is entropy, which means that disorder just keeps on multiplying and multiplying until eventually everything's out of control. So that's my policy solution. Deport some, give amnesty for some, but for the bulk, for the majority, for the utilitarian approach, for the 11 million, give a pathway to legal citizenship. Do the Barack Obama and the George W. Bush plan. That just put those two that I had mentioned, the Senate bill, Charles Schumer, and George W.'s plan. So just put those two together. That seems fine to me. That seems reasonable. And then, get a handle on the border. So if it takes border patrol, if it takes drones, how are people getting in? Stop people from getting in. What's the cost of a wall? Common sense. Common sense should really dictate all conversations. And so passing a comprehensive, common sense immigration reform, that's up to the American people to put pressure on the congressmen. And there's only, 435 congressmen and 329 million Americans. If the Americans showed the fuck up, Congress would, you'd have to go to Washington, D.C. So, I guess you could show up their office back at their home state, but if they're not there, that really wouldn't matter. Man, we do not have power at all, do we? We have no say-so in our government. We all got a bunch of opinions, but without any political power, what the fuck does it matter? Beto O'Rourke said that the southern border is one of the safest places in the United States. And if Trump hates immigrants so much, then why does he keep on marrying them? And also remember that undocumented illegal workers were found in Trump's businesses. So, they're able to get in. His golf courses has walls, but somehow the undocumented was able to get into his golf courses because he was hiring them. So, yeah, that's my policy prescription. Okay, America, pass comprehensive, common-sense immigration reform, get a handle on the 11 million people, deport some, give amnesty to some, have a pathway to citizenship for the most, and for your borders, of course you need fucking borders. Of course you need to protect your fucking borders. And I guess decide amongst yourselves if you believe the Democrats of just having border agents and technology and drones, or add a wall to the thing. Whatever you think is best. But as long as we're protecting the border, we got border agents and drones and shit. I mean, we're taking care of it. It needs to be manned, right? We're not just going to have a wall and it's just not going to sit there. We're going to have cameras on the wall. We'll have guards on the wall. So we're going to have border patrol people. So we can do all those things. We can do all those things without the wall, with the wall. So that just seems to be the goddamn fucking debate, isn't it? Do you want border patrol walking around with a wall or without a wall? Anyways, I'm John Masters, R.I.P., Jacqueline, and Felix.